Welcome to Calm Your Crazy. I'm Kiana Lambert, and tonight we are going to talk about how to shift to the reality that you want to experience and how that is achieved with your frequency of emotion. So I talk a lot about frequency of emotion and how you shift your reality. And in my free mini course, I talk about the subconscious programming and the rewiring and all that because that's like the basic foundation for it. But once you get really practice in loving yourself, knowing who you are, and you really start seeing how the cause and effect of you and how you're creating reality is happening, once you're in that space, you want to start to change other things in a big way, right? Because in the beginning, what I teach and what I've experienced is the small things, and then you want to move into getting some of the bigger things. And the way that works is frequency and vibration. So everything is frequency and vibration. Sound is an expression of frequency, and vibration is the expression of frequency. So when I say it vibrates at that frequency, it's because it literally is vibrating, oscillating in and out of the quantum. However you want to envision it, it's actually vibrating at that rate, and everything is separated by frequency. So every single possibility, every single reality, every single timeline, however you want to look at it, but every single one exists. Every single one. And all they are is frequency. That is the communication that is used to transmit the data of what you're going to experience. So every reality has an associated frequency with it, and it is basically sound, electromagnetic energy that is instructions for the reality that you experience. You create it with what you desire and your intention. You create that reality. You literally create it, and I'm going to tell you how. And I'm going to show you how in this podcast. But you literally create this reality. And it's a frequency. And once you create it, and you embody that frequency, and you start taking steps towards it, that is your consciousness shifting to that reality. You are consciousness having an experience. When you want to experience something, you create it, and then your consciousness shifts to it when your frequency matches the frequency of the reality that you created. Let me say it again, because I know that was a lot, even for me. So I'm saying it for me. You create the reality, and that reality has a frequency. And when you embody the frequency of the version of you that is in that reality, and you take action and steps towards that reality that you created, your consciousness is shifting to that reality. You are creating it. And then when your frequency matches that reality that you created, it's like a magnet. They resonate, and your consciousness shifts. It's like your consciousness is in this frequency, the one that you are living in right now, the one that you are creating with who you are right now. And as soon as you match that frequency consistently, consistently, you don't just like match it once, but if you match it consistently, then it's like a bridge opens and your consciousness moves to it. And you are not aware of this shift, okay? I was not aware of it either. You're always in the moment, you're always moving through, and then you have this moment where you realize how far you've come. And you realize where you've been and how you felt before, and everything feels so now and so permanent right now. And then you realize, God, I'm doing so much better, and I feel a million times better than I did a year ago. And then you kind of have this mindset and perspective shift that shows you how far you've come in your reality shifting. So it's not like you just shift from frequency 440 to frequency 552 and boom, it's like you're in quantum tunneling and then you're there. No, it's gradual. And it's gradual so that your nervous system can sustain it and you don't burn out. And it's gradual so that you can sustain it and you can carry it long term. Because if it was too quick, you would have trouble sustaining it. And then the statistical likelihood that you would revert back to old patterns and habits and realities is pretty high. So it's a gradual increase. And that gradual increase is the journey. And I've discovered that I don't want anything but the journey, because I never want it to end. Because every new discovery is like a brand new beginning, and it's euphoric. And it feels amazing to evolve back into your consciousness and to discover so much about yourself. And not even just in the spiritual way, but in the human way. To discover all these things about you, your journey, and your evolution, and what it means, and what you've learned, and your human capacity. And what it all means in the entire journey for you, because this life, this journey that you have right now is specific. And it's never going to happen again. You're never going to experience life in this specific way again. And even with all its tragedy and things that you see, there's also so much beauty and so much love and passion. There's the whole spectrum of human emotions. And it's absolutely breathtaking when you see it all. And when you really sit with it and you are aware and awake, you sit with it and you're like, I'm never, sorry for the train, but you're sitting here thinking, like, realizing that you are never going to have this experience again. This is specific to this life. You're going to move on to another life. You're going to move on to something else, and you're not going to remember this one. So it's like, this is it. What do you want to create? What do you want to experience? What do you want to do? What mark do you want to leave on the world? And I was watching a clip where this psychologist was talking about how we play it safe. We take just enough steps to satisfy our ego and say we tried. So we get up the courage and we write the book. And then we get more courage and we send it off to all the publishers. And then all 26 of them turn us down. So we say, okay, well, we tried, And it's like we make things comfortable for ourselves so we can still hide. And that, coupled with, knowing that this is the only life we have, made me feel so much courage Like my frequency just went up from wherever it was, which I was cooking pistachio cupcakes. And so obviously probably not in the lower frequencies, but oh man, as soon as I coupled those two things together, I just got this jolt of courage. Like, what am I doing? What are we doing? What mark are we leaving? Why are we playing it small? It's a simulation. I know it's guided by our nervous system, but let's get it in check, Do what we need to do. Anyway, I think I got way sidetracked talking about energy and reality, but when it comes to anything that you want to have and shifting to a reality that you want to experience, you have to feel the frequency of that reality, right? So in order to do that, you have to, and this is what I'm teaching right now, is you have to figure out what frequency you currently are in regards to what you want and where you currently are. And then you have to figure out why you're in that frequency. And the why you're in that frequency has to do with the beliefs that are subconscious, unconscious, and the conscious ones about how you deserve or how you can have what you want. And everything that you want is in a reality. So you have to figure out what frequency you're in, and then you have to do the reprogramming and rewiring of your subconscious programming around those beliefs. And you do that by taking action to challenge your nervous system, because it's the one that takes in the environment and created those beliefs to begin with. And your brain is part of your nervous system, and you're showing your brain that you are taking different steps to become a different version of you and casting off old frequency, because you and who you think you are is just a collection of frequencies. They're just memories of patterns, and they are it doesn't make it romantic, and I hate kind of wording it this way, but it makes it very concrete for me, at least. You were born at a frequency of love, and just think of yourself as a blank data disk or a blank jump drive. And then as you experienced life, your jump drive had files saved on it. And those files are your subconscious programming, and they come from your nervous system, and each one of them is a frequency of emotion, because emotion is how it is encoded into your body, into your cells, into your memory of your body. It's frequency. So you've had all this frequency stimulation, immersion since you were born and in your uterus, your mother's uterus, and from your DNA, from your ancestry. And it makes up who you think you are. So when you're trying to shift to a different version of you, to shift to a different frequency, all you are doing when you're changing your subconscious beliefs and you're rewiring and reprogramming is just removing old frequency and reprogramming with new frequency, just putting new beliefs in, and those carry frequency, and those correspond to an emotion. So you find out what your beliefs are around whatever it is that you're trying to get, which my students requested that I talk about money aspect of it, so I did. And so when using money as an example, you have to find out what your beliefs are around money. And your beliefs around money are going to come from your caregiving or care providers and your childhood, and how you saw them handle money, how you saw them react in an emotional way if it had anything to do with money. And those are going to be the beliefs that you created. And I refer to beliefs when they come to creating reality as parameters and rules, because literally beliefs are what you tell yourself is possible. So those beliefs then become parameters that define how you create reality with your electromagnetic field. They become rules for how you believe you have to be and what you have to do in order to get what you want. So you have to continue to ask yourself, where did these beliefs come from? What did I witness as a child that made me associate it in this certain way? So if you constantly saw your parents stressing about money, then you are going to believe money is stressful. And your nervous system is designed to protect you. So what do you think your nervous system is going to allow into your reality if you are scared of it? Your nervous system is what allows things to come into your reality. So if you are terrified of money and it causes anxiety, it's going to be a conflicting frequency, conflicting beliefs that you have. On the one hand, you want it because you want to feel safe. And on the other hand, you're terrified of it because you associate it with anxiety and stress. Especially if you're in a period or in a portion or had a portion of your life with lack. If you weren't good with money and you had some embarrassing moments, then you are going to associate money with shame and guilt. And that's also conflicting frequencies. On the one hand, you want it so that you can feel safe and good and you know you're capable, but you've got fear around the last time you made a mistake. So that is a conflicting frequency. Now you're scared of it, so you're not going to bring it into your life because you don't want to make another mistake. And also, you don't know what it feels like to have millions of dollars. So your nervous system has a limit on what it believes that you're allowed to have because that's all you've had. So part of the rewiring and reprogramming is telling yourself that's just old subconscious programming that I had nothing to do with because I wasn't aware. And now that Mama's back in the house, we're going to clean this up. And you're going to have to put it back in its place and adjust your mindset around it. So it's all energy and it's all frequency. And once you figure out what your hang-ups are, what your limiting beliefs are, and where they come from, when you start taking action and you start feeling weird and odd because you're building new neural pathways on the way to becoming that frequency of the reality you want, you can tell yourself, okay, well, this is just coming up because this is just old subconscious programming, old wiring, and I'm taking this frequency off and I'm putting a new frequency on that's on the way to the reality that I want to experience. So that is part of it, right? You find your beliefs and then you work on rewiring and reprogramming them. So how do you figure out what reality and what frequency corresponds to the reality that you want? Well, let's recap. Reality is created on your frequency of emotions. We are light having an experience. We create everything. What's the difference between watching and experiencing something? Emotion. That's the difference. When you are watching something, you may feel an emotion because your mirror neurons are firing from watching the character on the screen, but you are not feeling the wind in your face. You are not feeling the degrees of heat or cold. You are not feeling the energy of the person across from you having a complete meltdown. You're not feeling that energy. So there's a huge difference. So reality is created on your frequency of emotion. And another example that reality is created on your frequency of emotion is that your brain and your body associate memories more when they have a strong emotion attached to them. Okay? Because we experience reality based on emotion. We come here to feel. That's what we come here to do. We come here to feel all of it. So, because you now know from our recap that you create reality based on your frequency of emotion, and you create reality, you've got your ingredients right there. Your equation is complete. You create reality and you create it with emotion. So, get comfy. Remember the white room exercise. You've been practicing this, visualizing your white room. So your visualization muscle has already started to thrive and get bigger. So now you are going to use that same muscle for visualizing the reality where everything you want exists. And you don't want to just imagine what you want. You want to imagine the activities, what you're doing, and how you are feeling. So in this reality, you got to visualize it, spell it out. Your brain does not know the difference between imagination and what it sees. So visualize it. This is why we've been building the muscle for the white room, okay? So visualize exactly what you want. What are you doing in this reality? How are you behaving? Where are you going? What are you experiencing? How do you feel? What do you have? That feeling that you have when you're thinking about all this, that is your frequency of emotion. And guess what? That is the frequency of the reality that you want, and you just made it. And you know how to get there because the feeling that you have when you visualized it, that is the reality. What you want to feel. So bring it up, hold that feeling. That is the frequency of the reality that you want to experience. Now, you're not done. Hold that feeling, and while you are holding that feeling, you've got to match who you are to that frequency of reality. And you do that by holding the frequency of the reality, that emotion, that feeling that came up when you were thinking about everything you're going to be doing. And then you think about who you are and the version of you that is taken off the frequency of the reality you're currently in and has started to put on the frequency of the reality that matches this one. And you need to build your avatar at this point. This is why I teach my students the white room first and then the avatar exercise second. So at this point, my students have already been doing the white room and the avatar exercise for a couple of weeks now. So at this point, visualization to create this reality should come a little faster. And at this point, the avatar that corresponds to that frequency should come a little faster now as well. So what does this avatar of you look like? What do they dress like? What does their hair look like? All of it, make it detailed, like you're building yourself from scratch. What do you do every day? How do you feel every day in this reality? That is the frequency of what you need to embody. So you need to hold that frequency of the visualization and embody what you created as an avatar, because you created that avatar and it is a belief now. It's rules that you have for yourself. This is the frequency. This is who I have to be in this frequency to get to the reality that I want. And you have to show up as that every day, and you have to think of yourself as that every day, which means that you cannot let your energy go to the thoughts that are not friendly towards yourself. The thoughts that are not friendly towards yourself, they're energy focused. It's just old wounds. You did those as a child to preempt a crisis, because if you got onto yourself first, then you would keep yourself in line and not get in trouble. That's where the critical voice comes from. That's what it is. And you don't have to feed it. It's not alive. It's part of you. And it is you, just trying to keep yourself out of trouble. But you don't have to pay attention to it. So when you notice that happening, pull yourself out of it and go back to focusing on what you want to have growing. And when you feel uncomfortable stepping into this version of you and this frequency that you need to hold, know that it's normal. You are taking off frequency that never belonged to you. And you are letting yourself shine, and that comes with a little bit of vulnerability, and that doesn't feel safe to your nervous system. But it will metabolize the more that you expose it, and the more that you tell yourself, I'm okay. You are okay. This is your one shot at this whole experience as you. Make it count. Leave a mark. You're going to live every day anyway. You might as well live doing something that sets your world alive with passion and fire. All right, so we covered all of that and creating your avatar, embodying your avatar, thinking about that. And guess what? The more that you do this, the more that your frequencies are going to match and you're going to shift to that reality. So I tell people delusion is the solution. Delulu is the Solulu. And I say that because it feels that way whenever you are embodying somebody that you don't recognize, but it's really just you. You're not the collection of frequencies and experiences and emotions that you've had so far. Those were all subconscious programming, and now you're awake. So you don't need to carry it anymore. So it feels delusional, but it's not. Up until this point, you thought that the world happened to you and everything that you felt was a reaction to your environment. But you created that environment for you to react to. So you're now seeing behind the curtain that you're the one that was doing it all along. So you're the one that creates your experience. And you're the one that has the power to change it. And it may feel weird, but you have to just tell yourself it's old subconscious programming. And I tell my students to think of it as using their non-dominant hand to brush their teeth or to function. Because this is just like that. This has been happening the entire time. Your non-dominant hand has been there the entire time. You just don't use it as often. But it does all kinds of things for you. It helps you balance. It does all kinds of things that you just don't notice. So this is the same thing. You're just practicing using your non-dominant part of you that has been working this entire time. That's very powerful. So Delulu is the Solulu. So anything that you want is in a frequency that you have to embody after you imagine it, after you visualize it. And then you got to walk towards it. And it can be challenging. It really can. Whenever you have people and family and life that box you in and think of you as a certain way, and you start showing up as somebody else to shift to a reality that's different, it's gonna have some friction because these people in your life in this version of that frequency are going to have a little bit of a hard time seeing this new you. So I would encourage you to envision what you want as an outcome and then show up like that, expecting it and acting like the version of you in that outcome. So explain to your family that you're on a growth journey and that you are going to change, and you appreciate their support. And hopefully they're the type of people that can sit with you and go with you on your journey. If not, then they won't. And that's has a reason for it. And you created it that way. So if that happens, trust yourself. Always trust yourself above all else. And that is the entire episode. If you want something, find your beliefs about it. Visualize it, feel the frequency in your body, create your avatar, embody it, step into it, and move towards it with action. And your outcome is assured. Why? Because there's no time. So as soon as you decide and visualize and create it, it is done immediately. And when you hold that feeling, you are letting the future of your reality influence your present. And your present is the only place that anything happens. That's the interface you are with the simulation. It is everything that happens in the moment. So stay in the moment. And I will see you next week, or talk to you next week.